Hey, it's Christopher Cardinal, and you're listening to the Super Fantastic, let me see, above average, racing spectacular. Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening. It's crazy things going on right now. Very busy in the world of auto racing and motorsports and in general as we move into the month of October. Temperatures are cooling down. Things are going really well, hopefully, for everyone out there. And this is our program for this week. Intriguing as it may be, this is the last race in the round of 12. So we have the final stretch of the playoffs just zooming on by. Things are becoming a lot more clear in the championship picture. Talladega, what'd you think of Talladega? Yeah, I don't know. There's people out there who are going to be cynical and say that this race was the drizzling shits and there's a lot of bad calls. And some will say it wasn't enough wrecks, and some will say this was just an unentertaining event. You know what? Talladega is Talladega. It's a hit or miss place. It's kind of the historical perspective has been on Talladega that this is either going to be a shit show and you're going to have race cars turned upside down, mangled all over the place, and you're going to have a race that's just smooth and clean. Not exactly attractive for super speedway racing, but in any case, Talladega is in the history books for 2018. You'll see that place in spring of 2019. But what a storyline, huh? What a fucking amazing, super fantastic fucking storyline came out of Talladega, did it not? Aric Almirola. How about that? He is Almirolling into the round of 8. I really been high on this guy. I think all season long, I think he's made tremendous progress. And I'll admit, I wrote an article about a year ago. And if you may not have read it, maybe you didn't read it or no one else read it, but it doesn't matter. I predicted Almirola was going to kind of struggle out of the gate with Stuart Haas. I thought the 10 car, and I know everyone's going to go back to who used to drive the 10 car. Let's not even speak of her name today. There's enough of you people who will find a reason to disparage her good name. So I'm not doing that today. I'm not going to play into you trolls and all these people who, you know what, I know how to drive a You can't do that. You have never driven a race car. Most, probably 90% of this listening audience, or maybe 100% of this listening audience, I don't know. But until you've been behind the wheel, don't even say it. And I think Almirola has been a tremendous upgrade for this team. I think the chemistry is just about the overall good karma. There's that jovial feel in the air for anybody who's involved with Stuart Haas race. Stuart, Tony Stewart, I said it in the episode where we covered his first win at Richmond in 99. I'm not a big Tony Stewart fan. I never have been. I respect what he's done as far as his legacy. He's paved way for other drivers and what he's done in NASCAR and IndyCar and anything he's ever been behind the wheel. But I'm not the biggest fan of the guy. I think I wouldn't go up there and say he was ever a favorite of mine, but maximum respect for the dude. But really, Stuart Haas has really taken off as an organization in the last better part of 5 years, and a lot to do is that with Tony, man. Tony put the right people in the right places, and Aric Almirola, man, he took a chance. They hire this guy. He wins big. He advances to the round of 8. Sort of racing karma, I mean, if you will. It's just the forces of nature were with him on this week. The heartbreak at Dover. I think he should have won Dover. And I said, in a lot of his social media feeds, we talked about it last week, he had Dover circled on his calendar. He thought, in his mind, and he's run pretty well at Dover recently. So, I mean, to see a driver demonstrate that kind of confidence, knowing that he had a shot, you come up short, that can be heartbreaking. But you know what? Aric Almirola, he's stuck with it, man. This guy wins Talladega. I know people are going to say again, he would first win, does it at a demolition derby, lots of carnage, and just the war of attrition that was the Pepsi 400. Or the Coke 0400. We're covering Pepsi 400. Saturday. So let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Um, Great performance. Who cares if he won it at, what happened at Daytona? He won. He was in a winner's circle. Does that here. He's got that restrictor plate winning streak going from him, and he's a great plate racer. We called this in the previous episode. We said he's one of our 5 to watch, and sure enough, he didn't disappoint. So he puts, by virtue of this victory, it's a pretty cool stat here. Stewart-Haas Racing, all 4 cars for the first time since they've been a 4-car operation, are in the winner's circle. Well, we all know Harvick, it's automatic. Kurt Busch, we'll talk about that streak later. That is a tremendous streak in itself, is it not? Almirola finally gets the job done, gets himself in here, taking care of business, Mr. Almirola. And then we all know about Clint Bowyer snapping that winless drought. So nice, he had to do it twice. So now he's 5th in the standings going into the final round. I know, again, Kansas is not really... He doesn't have to do anything here. He goes into this race, and this is for whatever it can be. I know left on the schedule, there's not really any tracks that are similar to Kansas, so I'd like to say you could use this as a test for the next upcoming races, but there's no track left that really resembles Kansas anyway. You could say Texas, but totally different racetrack. No pressure. You're in, man. Seize it, just drink it up, seize the day, enjoy yourself. You're going to round number 8. No pressure from Mr. Almirola. He's had a phenomenal playoff. I don't care what anyone says. To me, one of the best drivers, if not the best driver in the playoffs. 3 top 10s in the 5 playoff races. That's pretty good. I'm telling you, that's a great. 2 top 5s. Richmond 5th. He wins Talladega. Pretty impressive stuff. I mean, I think this is sort of a break. This is a break. We all know this is a breakout year for him. 34 years old. It's really coming into his own here. He ran so well at Loudon. I mean, that could have been his race back then, but whatever the case may be. So as we mentioned, we alluded to, he won at Daytona with Richard Petty Motorsports in July of 2014. You know what happened there. The wreckage that was. And we're not going to focus too much on that because that was a long time ago, and we're not talking about 2014 right now. So he reaches his career high in top 10s of his career. 13 he's recorded this year. 181 laps led in the year of 2018. That is a career high for him. His previous best was 78 in 2012. And I think he's making a great case for the Final Four. Is he the real deal? You know what? A year ago, I would have said 20th in the points, maybe 18th, sort of on the cusp of the playoffs. And that's just, again, we're not going to talk too much about who used to drive this car. We'll not talk about that individual in this episode. We'll try our hardest not to, because I know people want to. And I saw a graphic this week. Salt in the wounds. Statistics prior to Almirola's arrival with the 10 car. And call for what it is. Salt in the wounds, whatever. This car has improved a lot. 10 car is legit now. 10 car is just not an R&D car for this team anymore. Car is getting it down on the track. It's racing just as well as the other 3 guys, if not better, if I do say so myself. But I think they're all kind of on the same level playing field this time. So can he make this Final Four? I mean, why not? We're going to skip by Kansas. Because to be honest, he doesn't have to do shit here. And I don't expect him to just run in the back. I think he's going to have a great run. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes away with a top 10, maybe top 5. Could he win again? Back to back? I don't know. We'll see. But if you're looking ahead, if you want to play that, let's go in the hypothetical machine and let's just look into the future. Let's be clairvoyant here and go look ahead. We have the crystal ball in front of us. Let's do it. Let's get them tarot cards out. No, we're not doing that. That's total bullshit. But for fun, can he do this Final Four thing? I'm going to say, I don't know. I'm going to say I don't know right now. I'll be honest with you. I'd love to see it. Great for some great drama. But he has the makings of a championship driver right at the moment. this kind of season where you just sort of improve your performance week after week, but no one's really talking about Aric Almirola. And despite all the success he's had with Stewart-Haas this season, I don't think he's really garnered the respect he deserves and what he's been able to accomplish in such a short period of time with this team, that this team could be dangerous in 2019. This could be the year that, he's got a long way to go. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to have career numbers. He's had a career this year, but he's going to put up career numbers that are going to mirror, some of a Denny Hamlin or Kevin Harvick or even the boss, Tony Stewart. He's a little behind on that. He's 2 wins. This is the kind of guy, I think, at the end of it all, if Aric Almirola finishes his career about 10 wins to his credit, maybe less, maybe more, that's considered a victory. I think that's considered, when you look at a lot of drivers, we just saw Casey Kane, who's stepping away. A lot of people will look back now and reflecting on Kane's career and say, well, was Kane's career really a success, or was it just a brilliant mistake? Was it an ultimate tragedy? And I think at this point, and as I said, I talked about it last week, I don't think Kane's Hall of Fame material. I don't even think Kane was ever going to be a championship caliber driver. However, is the guy not a good driver? Did Kane generate lots of excitement? Did he have the look? Did he have the teams behind him? He done some incredible things with really, for lack of a better term, lower tier equipment. And that's what Aric Almirola did for years with Richard Petty. And it's not to disparage the good name of Richard Petty Motorsports. I think this is a team that's been in transition for a long time. But this team was never, ever, I think anyone's ever going to say Richard Petty Motorsports was ever a team that was a desirable destination. And what Mr. Almirola did was build himself up, build his portfolio, and then got the attention of Stewart-Haas Racing. A lot of people talk about Bubba Wallace. I love Bubba Wallace. I'm a huge Bubba Wallace mark. And I know there's a lot of criticism, and we'll talk about him later in this episode. I'm going to give a call out to him just because we can. Bubba Wallace is in that same position where people criticized him for being with Richard Petty Motorsport, that this isn't going to be, he's going to be, and Bubba's very popular with the people, right? It's kind of a people's champ moniker going, but sorry, Matthew D. Benedetto, but I'm giving that title to Mr. Wallace, but I like him a lot, and I think a lot of people are in that same position, but don't worry about him racing for RPM. I think this is a place where, much like Almirola, you do your time, you're going to get noticed, and who knows, like I said, Daniel Suarez, too, another guy that we think is going to be on his way to big things, and I think Bubba Wallace fit into that, and Aric Almirola fit into that. I think Aric Almirola, when he got injured last year at Kansas, I think a lot of doubt about his career, really, because at the time, Bubba Wallace, who was taking over for him with RPM, was starting to find some success and gaining a lot of attention with that car. And remember his second race, he ran extremely well. And in a short period of time, he gained such a lot of confidence behind the wheel that it led to him signing with them full time. And there was a lot of doubt about Almirola. Where was Almirola going to be? And I remember a lot of people at this time last year were saying, well, Aric Almirola to Stewart-Haas, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Well, it's paid off, man. I was a doubter, too. I'm going to admit. I didn't think this was going to be a bad experiment gone wrong. I didn't think it was going to be, volcanic proportion. But I didn't think it would go this swimmingly either. If he makes it to the Final Four, let's just go in that hypothetical. I sorry I got off there a little bit on Bubba Wallace and RPM, but if he makes the Final Four, Martinsville, career best 4th in the fall of 2012. Texas, he was 7th in the spring race of 2013. Phoenix, he has 2 consecutive top 10 finishes. He was 9th in the fall of 17, and he was 7th there in the spring. And his best finish, if he can make it to that Final Four in that championship battle, he was 4th in 2010 at Homestead, Miami. That was when he was racing for RPM, subbing for Casey Kane, who we were just talking about. So we kind of went full circle, did we not? And The highlight of this Talladega race, it wasn't a race. I think Truex Jr. said it best in the post race. That wasn't a race. It wasn't a race. It was Stewart-Haas versus Team Penske. Ford wins again, man. Ford is owning Talladega in recent years. The Fords, the Blue Oval champions, just tearing apart Alabama. And those Fords are really fast race cars. As good old Jim Ross would say. So you look at it here. Haas versus Penske. It was intriguing. And for what it was worth, I thought, I'm really into this battle. This is great. And it's been the battle of the last maybe tail end of the summer. It's been Penske, Stewart-Haas. Some were lost in the shadows there. Big two of the big three. And Clint Bowyer. So he has a second at Talladega, as we mentioned about in last week's program. Really clutch performer there in the fall. His wins with RCR there. And he looks to be headed to the final 8, Clint. I mean, 2 top 5s in the last 3 races. 71 points above the cutoff line. This was his best Talladega finish since the fall of 2014, where he finished 3rd. I think he finished 3rd in both Talladega races in 2014. Clint looks like a guy, I think, that is very much in this championship battle. I've seen an article that was floating around this week that he is in the championship battle. Very much so. And I mean, this is a guy that in the previous years, he's been in the playoffs with both NWR and RCR. Was very much a title contender. Very early in his career with RCR, he was a title contender. So Clint knows how to do this, you know, even though he is getting up there, and we don't know how much of left is of Clint Bowyer, but he has that experience to run up front for championships, and he knows how to perform at that level, and he's been in that position. So it's nothing new to him. But I think a lot of folks would be shocked, and not shocked. Maybe there's a bit of shock value there, but if all four Stewart-Haas racing cars made the Final Four, that would be some intriguing television. And I think, is it not? I mean, who would you pick out of that? Unlikely. I said, and people hate this new system, the way the playoffs are, the way the points are calculated. They hate the chase format. They hated all this. But isn't this some intriguing shit? I mean, you're not into this, man, the drama. And like I said, it's like a wild card. I've said this several times. This playoff system is like a wild card in NFL or MLB. Best team, best record doesn't necessarily hold the trophy at the end. Live with it. Ricky Stenhouse. We'll talk about Ricky and an interesting statistic momentarily. 3rd place, man, the Sunny D car. That was gnarly, was it not? Whatever you do, keep it gnarly, right? Wasn't that the whole slogan of that drink? Sunny D, what a cool paint scheme. Great color scheme, but isn't that drink the drizzling fucking shits? Is it supposed to be orange juice? Is it a cocktail? What the fuck is that shit? Anyway, it's not the stuff it might be in their tagline, the stuff kids go for. That's the stuff I'm not going for. But in any case, it looks great on the track. Very popular paint scheme. They've, Stenhouse has made that his own. Remember the cool commercial, the parody he did with Chris Buescher a few years back? Wasn't that some intriguing entertainment for what it was worth for all but 3.5 minutes? So good finish for him. 3rd place run. This is much needed. I mean, Ricky's had an off year. You go from having a breakthrough year a year ago to really just searching for speed most of the year. Tough spot to be in. This is his first top 5 since Talladega in the spring. So again, the super speedway cars for them. Good, fast. Was very much in the thick of this. I wouldn't have been shocked had he won it. This was he did win this race a year ago. He was the spring 2017 winner at Talladega. That's what really got the ball rolling with him when he got a first career win, and then he backed it up at Daytona. Things are looking really up for Stenhouse. And I still think they are. I think next year this team could bounce back. They keep the same personnel in place. Ricky's continuing to gain more and more experience on the track, and I really want to see him do well, man. I'm a Ricky Stenhouse guy. I think he's a great guy, great driver. Really always came to his defense. And a lot of people were critical of him, and even his Xfinity career, that he's reckless, like to wreck a lot of race cars, wasn't a very smart driver, didn't have that driver IQ. I disagree. I think Ricky Stenhouse Jr. if you put him, if he was not with, and this is nothing on Jack Roush. I think Jack Roush to me, growing up, I preferred Roush over Hendrick. Was always a Jack Roush mark. I think if you had Ricky employed by JGR, Stuart Haas, Hendrick, you see a different driver. You could see Ricky Stenhouse could be in that prime spot. And again, it just goes back to sometimes it's not all driver, man. It's car too. But third place run for Ricky. Good for him. So Denny Hamlin. And this is what we talk a lot about Denny. In this program, I've talked a lot about Denny, how Denny's the kind of guy that either will become totally unraveled, just come undone, and in the face of adversity, or he'll do the exact 180-degree turn, and he's rallied from this playoff, this misfortune and disappointment. You know, if he was still in the thick of this championship or even eligible to even move on, he's in the next round or in the conversation, is he not? And 2 consecutive top 5 finishes for old Hambone there. He's rallying for his first win of 2018. We know he's still in search of that. Like I said, had he survived the first round at that Roval, had he could pull off that upset, he might be a lock for the top 8. But unfortunately, Denny's just going to have to continue to... he's been the best JGR car in the last 2 weeks. That's for sure. For Denny, it's just about winning that race, and we'll talk about it later, but gaining a lot of traction lately. And old Hambone there, he's picking up the speed. Joe Logano, 5th place run for him. Puts him 3rd in the standings, in prime position going into the final race here. 3rd top 5 in the playoffs. 4th at Vegas. 3rd at Dover, and here 5th at Talladega. He's building toward that top 4. I mean, I think he has if he gets in that top 4 at Homestead, Joey Logano just might be the champion, man. 2-time Kansas winner in the fall of 2014-2015, and he was 3rd in the spring race there. So there's definitely going to be a guy that you're going to keep your eyes on. I think it's a race where he doesn't necessarily have to win to get in. He's not in that position, that precarious spot where he needs the win. Good run. Other guys have some misfortune. He looks like he's going to the top, to the final. Excuse me. Looks like he is on his way towards the round of 8 in Final 4. We'll see. Jimmie Johnson. We talk a lot about Jimmie, but this almost feels like a win for him, and it has to feel like a win for him. What a rough couple weeks for Jimmie, too. 7th place run. He spins early in the race, rallies back for a 7th place finish. I think at the end he'd tell you this is his 3rd top 10 in the playoffs, so it's actually quietly had an okay playoff. You know, forget the Roval debacle. We're over that. A win is still possible for 2018. I feel like him and Chad have got one more in them. That'd be a great way to finish off their marriage together. And what a great combo that was. Colossal combination. Chad, man. Chad and Jimmie, you got to put them up there. Ray Abraham and Jeff Gordon. Dale Inman and Richard Petty. I know. Andy Peachy or Kurt Shelmerdine and Dale Earnhardt. Take your pick. Zipadelli, Stewart, Martin Finning, Rob Reiser Kinson, Yuri Sr., Earnhardt Jr. So many great combinations through the years, but I think this one, bar none, I think it even trumps Abraham and Gordon. I'm sorry. But Johnson rallies back. Could have been another disastrous day for him. Really kill his karma, but he rallies back, finishes 7th. And I think Johnson, it's been a trying year for Johnson. That quest for 8 seems so far away. Can't get off 83 just yet. Lowe's bails, says I'm fucking out of here. Now the breakup between the separation, now Chad Knaus, Johnson, trying year, man. But true to form, Jimmie Johnson is a champion on and off the track, in my books. See how he rallies, folks. Let's see how this guy rallies. I think next year is going to be an interesting year for the 7-time champion. But at this point, let's focus on the win, but we'll talk about that later. Paul Menard. So you put him in the Penske mix. He's basically a satellite team with running for the Wood Brothers. He was up there all day. He was up front battling the Stuart Hart cars as well. Ninth place finish here for him. Second top 10 of the playoffs. He was 10th at Las Vegas. So he's 18th in points. He's kind of hovering around that point. You know, if he were to finish 18th in the end of the standings, it's considered a pretty big win for Paul Menard. He's kind of mirrored in ever since when he made the playoffs, that one appearance with RCR. He sort of just kind of was stuck in limbo and just kind of not really doing anything, and really had some pretty good runs with the run at Michigan with the Wood Brothers, and you know, it's a pretty good position to be in, I guess. And even if he's there because of sponsorship that Penske acquired in having an alliance with him, who cares? It's working out, right? And what Ryan Blaney did last year, previous years in that car, and it's a pretty good deal for Paul Menard. I mean, it's cool, pretty cool to see him up front, sort of an extension of that Penske power. And in any case, 2 top 10s in the playoffs. It's not too bad for old Paul Menard. Regan Smith, super sub, and again, I'm gonna come off the rails here. Why is nobody? And I said it before. Not sure if he's content with doing the TV deal or what, but how come no one is taking a look at this guy? He's still so young. Could still help some team out. 10th place run here. 4th top 20 run in the 6 races where he's been subbing for Levine family. Can he find a ride in 2019? I mean, even if it's not at Cup, there's an Xfinity team taking another shot. I know he was with JR Motorsports there a few years back and did fairly well. You know, I just feel like Regan Smith's one of those guys that, for whatever reason or another, flashes of brilliance, but never could quite put it together. And, you know, he was really the catalyst, I think, when he won the Southern 500 for what Furniture Row is. And I think with Furniture Row, with them leaving, and we've talked about this previous, and Regan Smith had a lot to do with that team sustaining all those years and to get to the point where they could be championship contenders. And a really good run here for him with Levine family. And come on, man, start the Hire Regan campaign, because I think Regan Smith still has some giddy up in him, and I still think he has a chance to do some good if he's given the right opportunity. And he's proven himself here with this opportunity. It's filling in for Casey Kane, and who knows? Regan Smith, man, I'm still on Regan Smith. I think he's doing a tremendous job in that number 95 car. Kyle Larson, well, he lost 10 points. An infraction at the end of the race. Comes out, 10 points gone, man. 11th in the standings. Puts him now 52 points above the cutoff line. I don't know. Feels like this playoff has been in serious jeopardy. As they said at press time, when the race ended at the Roval, he was announced as one of the guys that didn't make the cut. And eventually we know he's here. But what a disappointing year. And I think it just comes off to that breakout year he had a year ago and sort of fallen flat this season. But in Kansas, 9 career starts. His best finish was a second in the fall of 2014. And he was 4th in the spring race there in 2018. Leading 101 laps. Fell short in the end. Man, I don't know what to tell you about Kyle Larson. We'll talk about these championship drivers momentarily that are in the hunt for the title, but it just feels like Kyle Larson. What happened, dude? It's like the balloon that, you know, someone just let the air out of. Just boo. But anyhow, Kurt Busch, pole sitter, leads 108 laps. Comes home 14th. Distraught in the post race. A little upset about the cautions there in the closing laps. Didn't feel like that was the right call by NASCAR to do at that point in the race. You know, he led the charge for Stuart Haas for most of the day. I thought he was going to win this thing. And I still think Kurt has a lot left to say in this championship battle. But tough break for him, and gets a 14th out of it. No, it was a questionable call. I mean, and again, I'm not going to get upset about this. No, that's not my intent here today. But was it necessary to call that at the end? Because I told you, there's two sides of Talladega. You have two tails. One, the wreckage, and no one wants that. No one comes to watch an event, a race, pure wreckage. No, if you do, don't even buy a ticket. Don't even waste your time watching on television. Why would you crave wreckage? It just makes no sense to me. You're there to watch a competitive race. So you're going to have that point where they want it to finish, yes, under the green, restart, whatever you call it, the green-white checkers, take as many times as you need to. But it just becomes to the point where it gets real chirpy on the restarts, and somebody makes a false move, gets a little overzealous, and it sends 15 cars flying all over the place. You don't want that. But in the same respect, you want to get a good close finish. You want to be entertained. You want to see these cars battle to the very end, to the bitter end. Not happening here. NASCAR made that call. Leads to Almirola winning the race. Couldn't be happier, but it's just, I hate this play. I'll be honest, I don't like Talladega. I know a lot of folks like it. It's one of the older tracks on the schedule, and it's famous for the song Eric Church in the movie Ricky Night, Talladega Nights of Ricky Bobby. But aside from that, this track to me always produces its fair share of controversy, and I just think maybe it's time to move on from this track twice a year. I don't know, maybe something to look forward to in the next couple of years. A lot of tracks are emerging as favorites to get cup dates or second cup dates. Perhaps maybe take one of these races off. I know that sounds sacrilegious to a lot of diehard NASCAR fans out there, but it's really worth going there twice. I mean, it has that intrigue, and any kind of super speedway racing will, but man, I'm not digging it. I never really dig Talladega. And I think it's just one of those places where rather forget it. But anyway. So Bubba Wallace. Darrell Bubba Wallace Jr. 19th place finish after what was an abysmal summer. This was his best finish since his 14th place run at Daytona and the Coke Zero 400. He finishes ahead of William Byron for the first time since Indianapolis in September. And rookie battle-wise, I expected more out of this, honestly. Bubba versus Byron. Started off, advantage Bubba, right? And good old William there rallied this. He didn't have it, and the record's not spectacular either. You look at these two rookies. This is a rookie battle that on paper looks phenomenal, and you know William Byron and his accolades and what he's achieved in Xfinity and the Camping World Truck Series. And you know what, Bubba, with his popularity and some of the amazing things he's done in the Camping World, K&N Series, and Xfinity, this has come out flat. It's been a weak-ass rookie battle, but it looks like Byron's going to get one up here on Mr. Darrell Wallace Jr. Unfortunately, finishes is what wins you this rookie championship with this title, and much to the chagrin of myself and maybe a lot of other Bubba Wallace fans, he hasn't come out victorious over Byron very often, and William is one of those talents I think that next year could have a breakout season. But Bubba too, I think Bubba just, you take away some of the miscalculations or some of the, just for what it was, bad luck. Could have been a bit different. Could have been a different story for Bubba Wallace in his rookie campaign. But I can't help but think that both these two guys are going to go on to have tremendous careers in Cup. But this time, Bubba Wallace, man, home track at Talladega, good old Alabama, 19th here. Not much of a rookie battle. Okay, I'll give you that. But it's nice to see him sort of run up front, huh? Well, have a chance to anyway. Martin Truex Jr., so his 23rd place finish. Seemed pretty confident with that. Comes out, like I said, his string of poor Talladega finishes just continues. He's been 23rd or worse in the last 5 races there. His last top 5 was the spring of 2015. Lowest he's been in the points, 7th at this point since May. Are the wheels coming off the bus? Is this the end backs to the wall at Kansas a little. I know he's not in great shape going into this race. A little miscalculation, something happens. This could be it. I don't know. I just think it's, man, I'll say it and I'll say it again. You can believe what you want to believe, but I think this team really has nothing to gain anymore. Even finishing out the season on a high note, a winner here and there would be great, but that championship, to go out as champions, to go out on top, that looks like that's sort of that window is closing pretty rapidly. So we'll move on from him. Kyle Busch, 26th, leads one lap of this. Not a factor for most of the race. Kyle's not really much of a Talladega guy, is he not? He has no issues. If he has no issues at Kansas, likely to advance. We'll talk about those odds momentarily. So 27th now for Keselowski. Put himself in a bad position. More than likely needs a win to advance here. Considering what he did late summer into the fall, we're stringing off those 3 consecutive. And he really gotten ice cold pretty quickly here. And I don't know. Part of that strong contingency with Stewart-Haas and versus Penske that day. But he would go up front to lead for a bit, but just not enough for Brad Keselowski to go 21 laps. Led. Harvick, 28th, likely to advance, is said. Really no pressure for him. Kansas is one of his better tracks. He led 46 laps at Talladega. We'll talk more about these contenders later, so just running through the order. 29th for Ryan Blaney. He was also part of right in the mix there with Penske versus Stewart-Haas, the highlight reel that was the battle between those two. Needs a lot of help if he wants to advance. If he can't pull off the win at Kansas, but yes, because at Kansas, not one of his best tracks, but not one of his worst either. We'll talk about it later. And so we're going to go to get some playoff scenarios here for Kansas. Let's just go into it here, what has to happen. So we look at Harvick here. 3-time Kansas winner, fall of 13, 16 winner. 1 here in the spring. 4 top 5 finishes in the last 5 Kansas races. So he's looking pretty good. So going into this, here's what you have to do. He's 63 ahead of 9th on the grid, 45 points ahead of 8th. Can clinch with 11 points. So doesn't have to do a whole lot here. 26th place finish with no stage points would be good enough. But if anyone like Keselowski, Blaney, Larson, or Bowman wins, he's locked in. So pretty much automatic. Let's pencil him into the round of 8. Kevin Harvick, the closer. Darrell Waltrip used to like to call him, which makes no fucking sense. If you're going to give a guy a nickname, and it maybe can sound really cool, but Mr. Where did he come from? When Darrell Waltrip, and he's a great driver, but maybe sometimes questionable about his broadcasting skill. What the? How do you come up with a nickname like that? Who the fuck? What's the guy's nickname? Mr. Where did he come from? Silly shit. Just silly shit. But anyhow, let's move on. Harvick, yes, I think Harvick, pencil him in. He's in. So if he were to advance to the round of 8, look what might happen. Well, again, we're going back into the what-if machine here. And if he makes it past, if he goes to Martinsville, he's got 2 consecutive top 5 finishes there. He's winner in the spring of 16. He's won Texas in the fall of 2017, so he seems to know how to close in, and that's not even get started on Phoenix. This is unfair almost to have this on in the playoffs so late in the playoff run. 9 wins and 31 career starts. This is since 2012. He has 11 top 5 finishes in 13 of those races. He owns that place. We all know his track record at Phoenix. Yeah, once he's in, if he can get to that point, I mean, Homestead, Miami, I think this is Harvick's. I think Harvick has his spot reserved there. That's just me speaking, but I think, and a lot of people would agree, I think Harvick is going to be among that Final 4 when we get down to the Sunshine State in late November. So Kyle Busch, 46 points ahead of ninth on the grid, 28th ahead of 8th. He can clinch with 28 points, 9th place run at Kansas, no stage points. If anyone, like I said, but Keselowski, Blaney, Larson, or Bowman wins, he only needs 10 points, so that'd be 27 with no stage points. Pretty much in good shape. Looks like Kyle is going to advance here. He was 10th there in May. I mean, he doesn't have to do a whole lot here. He's complete bad luck, loses an engine, hits the wall, whatever. Could have to rally, but I'd say he's in pretty good shape here. He's the spring 2016 Kansas winner. 5 top 5 finishes in the last 7 races. Think he's okay. I'm going to say Kyle Busch is going to be in the round of 8. Let's just go on a limb here. Be adventurous. He's in. Martinsville, he's a fall 2017 winner. Thank you, Denny Hamlin, for that with a big assist. You know what I'm referencing there. Spring 2016 winner, 6 consecutive top 5s at Martinsville. Texas, he's a 3-time Texas winner, but those all come in the spring in 2013, 16, and in 2018. And at Phoenix, he has 1 win, and that's in the fall. Way back in 2005. Remember, he was driving for the number 5 for Rick Hendrick. 5 top 5 finishes in the last 5 races there. So, I mean, barring any kind of disaster, he looks to be in great shape for the Final Four. I'm not putting him in the Final Four just yet, but I think he looks in pretty decent shape. I wouldn't worry too much about Kyle Busch marching on here. Joey Logano. So here we are. 39 points ahead of 9th on the grid, 21 points ahead of 8. Logano can clinch his way to the next round with 35 points. Second place finish at Kansas with no stage points. If anyone but Keselowski, Blaney, Larson, or Bowman wins, he needs only 17 points, and that's 20th on the grid with no stage points. And that 5th place went a long way for him, I think, to put him in this position at Talladega. And he has to just be conservative here at Kansas. Don't overshoot the car. Don't overdrive things here. Play your cards right. Just race the race. Don't get too stressed out here, because I think he has a shot to advance. And he was 3rd at Kansas in May. And he's been one of the better drivers, I think, at Kansas. And you look at the record here. 2 wins. Those were in the fall, 14 and 15. This is the kind of races you want to win. Clutch performances in the playoffs. 3rd in the spring race, as we said. Excuse me. And if he moves on, let's say he gets past this hurdle, which I think he's going to, with flying colors. I don't think I'm too worried about him. He's no wins in Martinsville in 19 career starts. Sort of a dud track for him. His best career finish was 2nd in the spring of 2010. Wow. Texas, he is the spring winner in 2014. He has 3 top 5 finishes in the last 5 Texas races. And at Phoenix, we all know he won there in the fall of 2016. Looking good if he makes it through. You know, Freddie Prinze Sr. used to say looking good, and I think that's what Joey Logano is at this point. And Kurt Busch, so 30 ahead of 9th on the grid, 12 points ahead of 8. He can clinch this thing with only 44 points at Kansas. So he goes into this race. A win guarantees him to the next round, regardless of the finish of anyone else. But if anyone like Keselowski, Blaney, or Larson, or Bowman win, he can clinch with 26 points. That's 11th with no stage points. He ran 8th here in May at Kansas and should have enough to advance. You know, some stage points would help him in that comfort zone to pad his stats, but I think looks like he's going to make it through unless something disastrous happens. I just think Kurt really, I think, is going to have a lot, as I said moments ago, he'll have a final say in who wins this championship. I just feel he's one of those drivers that were so focused, laser focused on his plans that he's not going to be in this car. And nothing's been officially announced yet. Let's not forget that. But it seems likely he's not going to be a part of the 41 car next season. But until his focus is not wavered. And I know a lot of people, when they do their pre-playoff forecast, kind of wrote him off, kind of wrote Kurt off, said, you know, I don't know if he's going to be able to focus for 10 races and put his efforts into a championship run and a team that he knows all likelihood will not be behind the wheel next year, this car. But Kurt's done a great job, man. He's just focused on, and you see his post-race interview. It's a guy that doesn't look like a guy to me that is saying, "Screw these guys, I'm out of here." So he's gonna give it his all to the very end, the last lap at Homestead. So we look at the runner-up finishes here for Kansas fall of 2013. He was the runner-up last fall. He was 8th in the spring race, as we talked about. And if he does make it through the round of 8, this is what he could do to make it to the Final Four. Kurt Busch, 2 Martinsville wins in his career. Fall of 2002, and he was driving the Sharpie 97 car, Rubbermaid car. Remember that? My goodness. We're going to Stratford, Ontario to see King Lear way back then, and that race was on the television then, so that's why that stands out. I remember that day like it was yesterday. He's the spring 2014 winner, and that win was monumental for him, as it was his first win with Stuart Haas Racing. As he joined them in 2014, he would break through pretty early, winning in the fall at Martinsville for them. Texas, he's a 2009 fall winner. 2 consecutive races at Texas here, where he's been pretty good. I mean, you go back to that 2009, that was a crucial point for him too, as he was with Penske driving the Miller Lite car, very much in the thick of that championship back in 2009 as well. And said you got to win these when they count, and Kurt, seemed to have revitalized his career with Stuart Haas, and I think he's very much in this title fight. Phoenix, 1 win in 31 career starts. That was way back in the spring of 2005. Hasn't had a whole lot of success there since, but won't count him out just yet. Clint Bowyer, let's move on to Clint. 21 points ahead of 8 on the grid. 21 ahead of 8 on the grid. 3 points also here. So 3 points ahead of the 9th of the, actually, no, that is incorrect. 21 points ahead of 9th on the grid and 3 points ahead of 8th. That was a typo on this screen, on this sheet. So we've cleared that up. So Bowyer, 53 points to advance. It's doable. So what would that mean? Probably winning. Then finishing in the top 4. If anyone but Keselowski, other than, yes, Keselowski, Blaney, Larson, and Bowman win, he needs those points to clinch, and that could be difficult. But traditionally performs okay at Kansas, but he just 15th place finish may not get it done. So he's going to be gunning for that top 10, that top 5 if it doesn't work out for him. So he has one runner-up finish in 20 career starts there. That's all the way back in the fall of 2nd in the fall of, 2007. It's a long ways ago. Wow, he's got 11. Last top 5 finish where was the spring of 2013. Yikes. Not exactly the best track, but not exactly the worst. It's home track. We'll see what he does. But let's say he gets through. And this, if he gets through the round of it, this where could be where he just unleashes. He's won the spring race in 2018. That snapped that winless drought we talk about so much. Never finished worse than 7th in 3 starts for Stuart Haas Racing at Martinsville. So he has to feel good about. That's where he's going to have to go in and just lay it on the line and go for it there at Martinsville. I'd say Texas, no wins in 25 career starts. Best finish as the spring for him was in the spring of 2011. And at Phoenix, he's 0 for 26 in the career starts for the Cup Series. Best finish was 2nd in the spring of 2008. Yikes. Did make his first ever career start for RCR when he was there, the number 30, I think it was 33 car then. It was back in, was he in the 31 that evening? I can't remember. But anyhow, he had his first career Cup start at Phoenix in the spring race at 2007. 2005. Okay, my memory's not so sharp when it comes to that. Clint Bowyer and that statistic. But anyhow, we'll move on. Martin Truex Jr. You have to throw it in the old Google machine, I think. I got to get a bit of rust up there as I keep doing this podcast, but we're only going to get better, right? Martin Truex Jr. 18 point ahead of 9th on the grid, 3 points behind 7th. So he's currently a bubble driver. Strange to say and talk about the guy who's that big part of that big dominant big 3, and now he's a bubble driver. really on the cusp of maybe not even making this playoff, and this could be disaster. Despite those 2 weeks, of poor runs and finish, he's optimistic about Kansas. He said it, how he's going to put all that behind him and the Roval debacle, and didn't really run all that strong at Dover, and then Talladega just didn't work out. No wins since Kentucky in July, and I think that's what's concerning a lot of folks, is that he's been kept off the win column for nearly 3 months. Uncharacteristic of this guy, and the way he's been running the last 3 to 4 years, extremely uncharacteristic. But as I said, he needs to win. He has to win to get himself in. That's it. No bones about it. If anyone but not any other, Keselowski, Blaney, Larson, or Bowman wins, he needs 38 points to clinch. That could be difficult given the circumstances, and a lot of drivers are just going to go out here and play strategy or what. But he swept Kansas in 2017, so we know we can get it done there. He was second in the spring race at Kansas, 2 runner-up finishes in 2012. One of his better tracks, so that's why he's feeling quite optimistic and just oozing with confidence going into it. And he knows that he's capable of doing this. He's there, he's fine. But he said bad pit stop, miscue, finds himself just not up front, slower race car. That's it. Dream's over. Furniture Row Racing will end their tenure in NASCAR not in the Final Four and won't be competing for the title. I'm going to say it. I'm just going to say it now. He's not getting in. I think this is the end of the line. I just can't see him going to this round of 8. And I predicted this a few weeks back, and I said, I just think one of the names I said will surprise you. I think doesn't make it very far, have a deep playoff run, and he's one of them. I just don't think he's the driver that I circled when I was looking at these 16 to start. I said he'll make past the first round. Not going to see the third. I just have that gut feeling, and I'm going to still stick with it here. But let's say he does prove me wrong and he makes it through. He's 0 for 25 at Martinsville. His best finish was a runner-up there in the fall of 2017. So not Martinsville, not a great track for him. Texas, he's 0 for 26. He's a run-up finish in the fall of 2017. So he's getting these better finishes in recent years at tracks where he wasn't always the strongest. So that gives some optimism for the team. And 0 for 25 at Phoenix. 2 consecutive top 5s at this track. So as I said, tracks maybe where he wasn't so comfortable in the past as for some reason. And like I said, he seems to be competitive everywhere he's gone lately. But I think Truex Jr. is going to exit the championship picture on Sunday. Just me saying. It's just an opinion. You can agree or disagree with it if you want to. Brett Keselowski. So he's 18 points behind 8th on the grid, 21 points behind 7th. He has to win. It's the only way he's getting into this next round. He put himself in that. He pigeonholed himself where he has to win now. And Kansas is, to me, not one of his better tracks. I wouldn't say it's a horrible track for him. He was 14th there in May. I think he's in a very precarious position. His back is to the wall. Needs that Hail Mary pass. Matthew Stafford, he's a Michigan native. Well, his lines to say it could be like Matthew Stafford trying to reach Golden Tate, or I'm gonna go rewind a few years, Megatron, Calvin Johnson. You need to hook up that Hail Mary pass, and it has to connect with your receivers into the end zone. Touchdown. This is the position Keselowski has put himself in, and who would have thunk that? When he went on that just a month ago, that 3-race win streak, you think this is. Everybody's drinking the Keselowski juice, and all of a sudden, man, got a bad feeling about this. So, the spring, and this is to me, this is the turning point. If you're a huge Keselowski fan and you love your driver, this is what could give you some optimism. This is not, we're closing the casket on this yet. It's not airtight. It's kind of, teetering, but it's not case closed just yet. Spring 2011, this was the site of his coming out party. This is when he would win in spring. And I think this is where Keselowski became a contender and a driver to watch on a weekly basis, was this particular race at Kansas in the spring of 2011. Only 2 top 5 finishes since that win in the span of 14 races. But if he can sneak through, say he comes up in the clutch here, gambles. I know he's going to, and this is his nature, and this is what he's been doing in a lot of races throughout his career. Remember Fontana back in 2015, just pull some strategy at the end, racing some old tires. He's pretty good at restarts. That's his only way he's going to win this race. And if he does sneak through, he's a spring 27 Martinsville winner, 4 top 5 finishes in the last 5 races. But this is where it gets ugly, where he's going to have to go all or nothing at Martinsville. So back-to-back weeks, he's going to be asked to go all or nothing. 0 for 20 at Texas. Abysmal. 0 for 18 at Phoenix. Wow. And I'm going to write him off too. I'm putting him in the pit. I am burying him. Keselowski will not advance to the round of 8. Great story this year. Team Penske, some huge wins for him, some crown jewel wins at Indy and Darlington, but it's over, man. I think Keselowski will not advance to the round of 8. The team found their stroke just way too late in the season, and now this just comes to a crashing halt, and I think it's, better luck for next year, but I think if he can get off on a good foot in 2019, I don't know, Keselowski could be a 2-time champion. I'm not quite writing him off just yet, but it is not going to be in the year of 2018. Ryan Blaney, 22 points ahead of 8 on the grid, 25 points behind 7th. Like his teammate, his Penske comrade, got to win this race. And he could sneak through. I think he's one, and I'm going to say it, I think he could sneak through, but he needs a lot of help. And so he was involved in a wreck at the spring race, 37th in May. He was on the outside pole for that. He's going to need a lot of help here, and I mean massive, humongous help if he doesn't win this. He would need Truex or Boyer to have a really miserable day. And to me, that could happen. It could not happen. But I'm going to go with that. He's going to sneak in. I just feel it. I think Truex is going to have a really shitty day. And I think... And it's not like I'm not beating up on Truex Jr. here. I love the run he went on with Furniture. It was memorable, if anything. And he got a championship out of it. And that battle with him and Kyle Busch last year at Homestead was just one fantastic. It was one for the ages. And but I really think Ryan Blaney is just scratching the surface. I mean, this is a huge accomplishment to make the playoffs consecutive years. Gets 2 wins in consecutive years. So career win number 1, number 2. We'll talk about that later. And if he can sneak through, there's a good chance he could go all the way. And I'll tell you why. He's just 3 top 5 finishes in the last 7 starts at, his career starts here at Kansas. 3rd last fall in 2017. If he gets through, though, Martinsville, he was 3rd in the spring race, 8th in the fall of 2017. Texas, 6th last fall, 5th in the spring race. And at Phoenix, he won the pole last fall. And he has 2 top 10s in 5 career starts in 2016. So that was with his Wood Brother days. So he was able to run really well at Phoenix, even in Wood Brothers equipment, but just like an extension of Penske. But in any case, I think Ryan Blaney's going to sneak through. Don't ask me how. I'm just going to make that bold prediction that Ryan Blaney gets through this, makes it in. Again, don't ask me why I'm saying this or how I know this, but I think you're going to see major names fall. Keselowski and Truex Jr., I'm putting them on the list of 2 drivers that are the domino effect. It's all going to come crashing down, and it's going to, as Hulk Hogan would say, it's going to come crashing down, and it's going to hurt inside for Keselowski and Truex Jr., but it's not for Blaney, because Blaney is going to find a way to sneak through and get to that round of 8. The Final Four, not so gutsy to say that yet, but we'll see. Kyle Larson. So this is just a mysterious. It's like a mystery that Scooby Doo and Fred, Shaggy, and Velma, Scrappy couldn't figure out. Predicted by most to win this championship and be a contender and roll off, have a career year, because he had a pretty good season last year, and it's just been just dead, just a dead battery, and just a lot of bad luck. And he loses the points there at Talladega. He went on to say that he was very embarrassed by his performance at Talladega, that he was unhappy with how he's been running, disappointed. But the fact of the matter is he's 26 points behind 8 on the grid, 29 points behind 7. Needs to win. He has yet to win in 2018. A lot of pressure on himself. He's had some really fast race cars. It has to be absolutely exasperating for a driver to run so well, have incredibly fast cars, and what's the caveat? There's no payout here. Struggles. So there's no doubt Larson could win his first win at Kansas. Nobody is betting against that. It's an all or nothing race for him. He knows he's gonna try to put everything out there. You could see it. And he was, like I said, fourth in May, led 101 laps. So you just can't count him out, but don't count on him either. Runner up in the fall of 2014. Yeah, I'm going to say he doesn't make it. That's not being pessimistic. It's in his head now. I think it's a mental game, and I think Talladega was circled on the calendar. Richmond, I thought even he was going to win in the previous round, and it's just, if he gets through, he's 0 for 9 at Martinsville. His best finish was third in the spring of 2016. 0 for 10 at Texas. He's wrecked in the last 2 races there. He was a runner-up in the spring of 2017, and he's 0 for 19 in Phoenix. 0 for 9. And he was a runner-up there in 2017. You remember that dust up there with Ryan Newman a few years back? Carried Newman to almost to the championship in 2014. So Larson, I think it's back to the drawing board for Chip Ganassi Racing after this race. He could still claim victory at the final 5 races. But final 4, excuse me. But I think this is it. I think Kyle Larson is going to be eliminated on Sunday. And that's the end of the line for him. Bit of a disappointment, but as I said, go back to the drawing board, figure out how to not repeat this in 2019, and march forward. Alex Bowman, and I just gotta say, and I'll say it again, I've said it a lot, so high on Alex Bowman at this time, and he's really made that 88 his own, and tremendous accomplishment to make it past the first round. I think nobody had him into the next round, honestly, and be honest, you didn't. A lot of people didn't have any high hopes for this team at all. 68 points behind 8 on the grid, 71 points behind 7th. Has to win to make it in. That's the only way he gets in. You can't make it on points under no circumstances. The whole field could collapse, and there's just no way mathematically he gets through. He's got to go for that win. I mean, Alex Bowman is going to focus, the whole 88 team is going to focus on how do they sneak this one through. How can they steal one? And you have to take all the chances in the world. I mean, there's nothing to lose here. Don't wreck anybody, obviously, but you've got nothing to lose. Maybe nothing even really to gain at this point, because you've already accomplished so much, and to me, he's exceeded expectations in this car, and is going to continue to get better. But let's say the odds are he sneaks through, pulls off his first career win at Kansas. He makes it past, gets in that round of 8. Martinsville, he was 7th in the spring race. He's 0 for 6 at Texas, but he was 13th. That's his best finish in fall of 2016. And that's all subbing for Dale Jr. All these finishes are, and then he was, as you said, 7th at Kansas in the fall of 16. So he was building that rapport with the team even back in 16 when he was in the substitute role. And the caveat could be Phoenix, his home track. He won the pole there in 2016. Should have won that race in 2016. If you poll a certain amount of the audience, they say, hey, I think it was his. He finished sixth at the time. That was his career best at that moment, but he's shattered that at Pocono this year. So Alex Bowman, one of those interesting cats, man, where could do it. I wouldn't be shocked, but he's going to have to play the strategy card and hope that for a lot of luck and some divine intervention, if he plans on competing for the championship past Kansas. So now this has been a season of streaks, as you've seen a lot of streaks that are still ongoing, that are in serious jeopardy, and you had some that, wow, you have to say that was pretty cool, and you look back at the record books and something that a lot of drivers and fans alike are going to say this is a pretty banner year for NASCAR Cup racing in 2018. Maybe sometime, yeah, you know, the fields are smaller now, and it feels like the emphasis is all on winning, and we have these crazy playoff battles. But this is a pretty good season, I think. You look back, and there's not a lot of memories or moments in the season where you say, I didn't quite enjoy that. Even if you're not a fan of Erik Jones or Chase Elliott, it's still pretty cool that I'd seen them win. And the pure jubilation on their face, tasting victory for the first time in a Cup Series is just absolutely fantastic. And so this is the first time in NASCAR history where 3 different drivers have won 3 consecutive races in the same year. You had Harvick, who did it in the spring at Atlanta, Las Vegas, and then at Phoenix, and then Busch would go on to monkey see, monkey do him, do it at Texas in the spring, Bristol, and at Richmond, and then Keselowski with his end of summer hot streak where he would win the Southern 500, the Indy 500, the Indianapolis, at Indianapolis, and the Breaker 400, and win the Indy 500. Not just yet, it was Will Power that won that in May. Roll Tide. Las Vegas, and then, but all 4 failed to make it 4 consecutive. That would have been something that is rarely seen in NASCAR, and considering how competitive the sport is at this juncture, that would have been just absolute dominance. And Austin Dillon and Ryan Blaney, they have a pretty cool streak going as they follow up their first career wins from a year ago and get career win number 2 in consecutive years. So you had Austin, who, you know, if you're going to win 2 races, even if they're under, one is under a fuel strategy where you're just playing the fuel game, and one where you wreck A Aric Almirola on the last lap of the Daytona 500. So that's some pretty 2 really huge races to win so early in your career, the Daytona 500 and the Coke 600. That's good stuff. Blaney, who would win at Pocono last June in a nail-biter there with Harvick, and backs that up and wins an historic race at the Roval here a few weeks ago. So if Ricky Stenhouse Jr. can put himself arrested the field on upset alert, find himself in the right place at the right time, could add himself to that. He could be the trio of drivers, as he'd be also included as the driver to get his first career win the previous season, and back that up with career number 2 the following season. Clint Bowyer, so this is the streak that was shattered, that I think everybody saw coming. I think as he was gaining traction with Stewart-Haas, as he would snap the 6-year winless drought, a streak that spanned 190 races. He wins he wins at Martinsville, and he backs that up with a win at Michigan in June. So nice he had to do it twice, and good for him. And it seems like Clint Bowyer is very much in the thick of the championship battle this late into the season. So I said, that's all it takes to really send a jolt to Clint Bowyer in his career was the move to Stewart-Haas. So I said, helped out A Aric Almirola, who shattered a 3-year winless drought as he wins big at Talladega, as we know. And all 4 cars and Stewart-Haas see the winner's circle in 2018. And A Aric Almirola was a winner in the number 10 car. Chase Elliott and Erik Jones, they break their winless droughts, and they claim their first career wins. Elliott in career start number 99, Watkins Glen, after several runner-up finishes and frustration that he should have been. This guy could easily have 9 wins. 10 wins, I think. Just been so good in such a short period of time. And Erik Jones triumphs at Daytona, career start number 57. And another interesting little streak that's still alive is Kurt Busch. He continues to at least win one race each year that he's been with Stewart-Haas Racing. Goes back to 2014 when he would win at Martinsville, and done a great job in that 41 car. He's won, like I said, one race, and this is what's believed to be his final 5 events with the 41. It's not confirmed yet, but I mean, it seems pretty evident at this point that he's not going to be in that car next season. But what a way to finish it off, man! You done a good job, and he went at Bristol here in August, and to win each year since 2014. And prior to that, he had gone, prior to winning in 2014 with Stewart-Haas, he had gone 2 seasons where he was winless with Furniture Row and that the hodgepodge that was the James Finch Phoenix team, and then he ended the other part of the season there with Furniture Row for 6 races, I believe. So we, look point to point, it looked like Kurt would have been pretty much buried and gone, but he found a way to make himself relevant and keep himself here and just revitalize his career with Stewart-Haas. And if he ends up going to Chip Ganassi, he's in good shape, and I think could bring that same kind of positive karma to a team that number 1 car needs a lot of help. And I think that's been a tough year for the Chip Ganassi group, and Kurt Busch could bring that fresh take to that team, I believe. So now some streaks that are kind of on the back end, streaks that are in serious jeopardy of coming to an end, and some veteran drivers who were on the receiving end of this. And Jimmie Johnson, so a streak of 1 win since his rookie season in 2002. We've talked a lot about this in the program. It's in serious jeopardy. He's only got 2 top 5 finishes in 2018. Went for that gamble at the Roval, didn't pay off. He was just an all or nothing situation. We get it. Didn't work out. So this is the lowest he's ever been in his career in top 5s. And the last top 5 was at Charlotte in May. So really dry streak for the 7-time champion. But the good news is, if you're a Jimmie Johnson fan, and most people who, even if you're not a fan, you want to see this streak continue, because it's a pretty amazing streak for the champion. 7-time champion, 83 race winner. Him and Chad getting one more. I think everybody would love to see that. I don't think there'll be one person to be mad at that. And if you are, then come on. Cut him a break. His record in all the tracks coming up. Martinsville, Texas, Phoenix. Has success anywhere he's ever raced. Jimmie Johnson is an absolute class act, and he's a just hell of a race driver. So, I mean, these next 5 races could be great opportunity to break that streak. But on the same respect, you got to flip the coin. There's 2 sides to every story. There's a growing suspicion this streak ain't gonna win this year, and I could see that happening as well. As he said, the 7th he was able to salvage at Talladega. That's just a lot of rallying, and that's never, the resilience, the never say die attitude, and I love that about Jimmie Johnson. But I think this could be a streak that is going to come to fruition, that he may not win. I think would be kind of a sad way for the storybook ending between him and Chad to end, but we'll see. Denny Hamlin, his streak is also very much in jeopardy, as we said. He's got 1 win since his rookie season in 2006. He won the finale at Homestead in 2013, so he was able to avert disaster there. Might not be so lucky this year, but I'll tell you why I think he could end up breaking the streak, or keeping the streak alive, to keep the win streak going. He's been red hot lately. He's got 2 consecutive top 5s. He's building that momentum. Kansas is a track where you can keep your eyes on him. We all know what he's capable of at Martinsville. Loves that place. Texas has been good to him. Excuse me. Or he could just pull the rabbit out of the hat and win at Homestead as well. But I would say at this juncture, Hamlin has a better chance to keep his win streak alive than Johnson does. I think that's just a fair assessment, and I don't think too many people would disagree with that. And here's a very interesting streak that I thought to me, is the most puzzling, but yet intriguing in the same respect. Ryan Newman, the Rocket Man. We all know he's going to Roush Fenway. He's leaving RCR. No top fives in 2018. He's the only driver in the top 20 in points. This is a crazy stat. He's top 20 in points, but no top five finishes. Absolutely mind-blowing. It's a head scratcher. How the hell are you so high in the point standings and you haven't even recorded a single top five? Came close at Loudon. He was sixth there, but just couldn't quite get to the next position. But if that does fall, if that is to end up, this poor run of whatever you want to call it, it remains intact. This will be the first time he hasn't scored a top five finish since 2001. That wasn't even his rookie year. He even scored a top five when he was running a limited schedule the year prior. That's a long time, man. You're looking at 17 years. I hope he gets a top five here. I mean, I think he could get it this week at Kansas, but I think it's a stat that is just pretty remarkable. But also, if you're a Ryan Newman fan or you like Ryan Newman, it can bum you out too severely that this guy's yet to get a top five this late in the season. I'm biting my nails a little for this one. And also another streak that you keep an eye on, but that's not going to be till the final race of the season, is since 2014, when Kevin Harvick won his first championship, the winner of the final race at Homestead has gone on to win the championship. And I know what you're saying. That's how it should be anyhow. But we've never really seen the drama. You want to see drama. By virtue of winning the race, you're the champion. Wouldn't it be something this year you throw a wrench into that? Somebody who's not in the championship picture wins this race, and then it comes down to who has the highest finish. Is that streak going to continue? I don't know, but I think it would be pretty cool to see someone else win at Homestead and totally just ruin the plans for some of the drivers who think they could go in there and just you win and you've got the championship. Easy enough, maybe not. But here we are. We're going to get ready to wave the white flag on this episode. Soon to wave the checkers. So these are the top five drivers to watch at Kansas. We're going to run through Kansas real quick. So this is the final race of the round of 12, as we all know. Elimination City is coming your way on Sunday. The big three have won the last 6 Kansas races. And out of the big three, only 2 of those big three, Harv and Kyle, are pretty well into the next round. It's Truex Jr. who's going to have to play the role of just maximum offense with a little bit of defense. If he plans on racing for that championship, that second championship, that consecutive. But you look back, Truex Jr. should be working on his 3rd championship, in my opinion, but it's neither here nor there. So here we go. I'm going to put Truex Jr. as a driver to watch, one of the top five drivers to watch this week. He swept both races in 2017 in itself, pretty impressive. He was a runner-up in the spring race, 2 runner-up finishes in 2012. Season's on the line. He knows it's all or nothing. You got to win and you're in. That could carry him. He could just find a way. And as he said, he seemed quite confident leaving Talladega that he knows what he has to do. It's just going to, he can get it done. If there's anyone that can do this, I'd put all the confidence in the world in him. But I'm saying no, he doesn't do it. But, I mean, for the folks out there who are huge Martin Truex Jr. marks, then I hope your driver does it. But to me, I don't think it's going to happen this year for Martin Truex Jr. Maybe next year at Joe Gibbs. But anyhow, could be a guy to keep your eye on. Wouldn't count him out just yet. But I'm the only one that's going to count him because I'm counting him out. But anyway, Denny Hamlin, so we said 2 consecutive top 5s coming into this race. Seems to have been able to put the playoff misfortune behind him. He's focusing on breaking that streak, as we talked about. 2 consecutive 5th-place finishes at Kansas. He was the runner-up in the fall of 2015, and he said he's running much better lately. Just got to stop that streak. You got to keep that win streak alive since 2006. Come on, Denny. You can do it. Kevin Harvick, he won the spring race here, won the fall event in 2016 and 2013. He's 4 top 5s in the last 5 races. This makes no difference to him whether he wins or not. He's on his way to the next round. That's with very or little effort coming up. A win here, I think, just puts the whole field on notice that Kevin Harvick is still the closer, still a dominant force, still the force to be reckoned with. A win here is just going to put everybody back on alert that, yeah, this team isn't going anywhere. Hit a bit of a rut lately, kind of still running up front, still consistent, but they're not rolling off the wins. But that could all change at Kansas on Sunday. Ryan Blaney. I'm going to put Ryan Blaney, as I said. I might think I'm going crazy here, but Blaney has an opportunity to get through. I know he needs tremendous amount of help. He needs to pretty much win the race or have guys like Truex and Boyer, as you mentioned, just flat out flop. Instrumentable odds, absolutely. But third last fall in 2017, we all know this is a race, as we said. Can't emphasize more. You need to win and you're in. And only 7 career starts here. He's got a very impressive record of 3 top 5s, 4 top 10s. So this is kind of one of his better tracks. Joey Logano has done well here. And Joey Logano is going to be a guy that I think you keep your eye on, but I don't think he's going to win anything this week. Blaney, I don't know. I can see a clutch performance out of him. And I think that could go a long way in finding establishing an identity for himself. Because I think a lot of people still, despite him winning this year at the Roval, and he's had a pretty okay year. Wasn't it the greatest? I think a lot of people expected more out of him when in the 12th car, that he was going to roll off the wins. And now that he's home with his team at Penske, he's not on loans to the Wood Brothers anymore, was really going to break into his own, and didn't quite work out that way, but it's something to build on. And a side note, his podcast on NASCAR.com, the Glass Case of Emotion podcast, worth a listen. Give it a listen. I think it is one of the more entertaining racing podcasts out there. Glass Case of Emotion podcast, NASCAR.com on, I believe, Wednesdays or Thursdays. Don't quote me on that, but you can find it wherever you get your podcasts. Cheap plug there for that podcast. And Chase Elliott, 4th last fall. I know you're going to say, why are you putting Chase in here? It's the only record of significance at Kansas. I just think Chase is, as I said, he's not done winning. He had all the confidence in Dover, was able to steal one there. Wouldn't be shocked at all he wins this thing. I think he's Hendrick's only hope to win the championship this season. He is in my Final Four, I'll admit. I penciled him in long ago. I think this is going to be a race that defines his character and how he can establish himself as one of the top drivers. And at 3 wins on the season would be saying a lot for him, considering how much emphasis is on that. He had yet to win going into this season, and it's pretty much silencing a lot of the critics and just living up to that Elliott Racing heritage that we know. His pedigree is tremendous, and I think he's going to be a guy that you should keep your eye on Kansas. I think he's one of those people that, he doesn't need to do anything, just much like A Aric Almirola. Just needs to maintain and have a good race and worry about the round of 8. But a good finish and a win, not hating that either. I'm not mad at that. But that's just going to wrap it up. We're going to wave the checkers. Not a lot of news coverage this week, so a quiet week in NASCAR. Coming up on Sunday, that's coming Saturday, we're going to record. It's going to be Pepsi 400 1998 bonus episode. Check it out. But until next week, I hope you all have a great week, and thank you for listening and continue to support the super fantastic Above Average Racing Spectacular. So we're going to wave the checkers on another episode. And just always remember, whatever you do in life, fall in love with the things and the people you love over and over again. And it's a great time to be alive, is it not? And I will see you all next week on the super fantastic Above Average Racing Spectacular.